Point number two is above policy. What are the city ordinances that are in play, right? It's one thing if you don't comply with your own policy, that's one thing. But if you're not complying with the law, that's a separate thing, right? And so looking into the same topics in terms of use of force and duty to intervene, this summer, in the wake of George Floyd, there's been a bunch of examples across the country, New York State, Colorado, passing new ordinances that help prevent these sorts of situations for the future. So that's point number two. And point number three is body-worn camera. It's something we've been thinking about, something we've been talking about, a reason why we need to complete the investigations to those first 12 cases. One thing we discussed with the mayor's office when we've repeatedly brought up these concerns about whether the body cams are being worn is what is the evidence, right? What is the sample size? How do we know when they've been worn and not? And so in this case, there was an issue with body-worn camera. We have some complaints that we're looking into. We want to see in how many of those cases is that a problem, and ultimately, just like the other policies, improve that. And so that's what we are looking into in terms of the Hanley investigation. There's certainly a number, like I said, of good examples across the country. Baltimore is another one. And so we want to implement those good ideas and good policies, essentially to make sure that we can help create a system where something like this situation never happens again.
All right, Jose, thank you. Any questions or comments? Very good. Sean, I think... Oh, go ahead.
I actually have something to say about that.
Yep.
To the question of policies, we know that violations of policies are taking place all the time. We know that there are volumes and volumes of policies that are on the books. They had the Commission for the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies come through. Chief Clemens corrected me. I said that there was a 180-point process. He said it was a 187-point process. So they have a litany of things on the books. The problem is no one is being held to account. No one is enforcing them. So this isn't something for us to do as a board because we don't have the teeth or the power to do so. We have monitoring ability, we have recommendation ability, and that's it. So the only people who can actually really make something happen are the people who are actually writing the ordinances for the city. And so there has to be some sort of a codification of when these violations take place, what actual punishments will follow. I hear a lot of conversation about duty to intervene. There was a duty to intervene in the city of Minneapolis on the books since 2016. So that didn't save George Floyd. So the idea that if we just keep, milling through and talking about this, my values tell me that there has to be not just an account of the officers who are doing this, but the officers or the commanders who are reviewing this behavior. Because we keep referring to this as the Hanley case. There were other people who were involved, as we all know, that probably that should be punished, but they're not because the focus is being drawn to Hanley and not to the larger picture. Why was Hanley there in the first place? Why was there a 2-minute and 14-second gap in that video? So those are things that aren't being discussed. So while we're talking about policies, we need to be real and recognize this isn't being addressed in the places that it really needs to be addressed, and that's in the laws.